Thank you for joining me. It's been a very interesting few days. Thank you also for all of your correspondence. I've received letters and notes and so on from Sweden and from Norway and Finland, actually all kinds of countries, and then quite a bit of commentary, especially in the last 24 hours or so, about the new Canadian gun laws, which I think affect all gun owners around the world. And I'll be making a video on that subject. It's quite interesting to me because it's predated by all of your letters and information, especially from places like Sweden and Norway. But I've learned a lot about gun control around the world. It's fairly clear to me that they probably have forgotten, at least to some extent, that the purpose of these democracies is not to reduce freedoms. Their objective is supposed to be to preserve and increase freedom, as opposed to the other systems, which we went through a lot of trouble and loss of limb and life to prevent from dominating the world through world wars. But anyway, those are just some loose comments. I'll make that next video. I did have a chance to test some shotguns, which doesn't often happen. They're a little bit foreign to me. I don't shoot them as much as I do rifles. But I think you'll find this one interesting, especially the conclusion I reached. As you can imagine, I have Remington 870s. I have all kinds, and I usually receive notes from you saying, why didn't you have this one on the table? I just can't have them all on the table. That doesn't mean that they're no good or I don't consider them worthy. But today I thought I'll focus on the Winchester Model 12, the Model 25, and the J.C. Higgins Model 20, which is very similar to Flight King products. In fact, the patent for the J.C. Higgins Model 20 was partially assigned to Flight King and partially assigned, I think, to Sears. But we'll start at the beginning of the story, because some people ask me which is the best Model 12 to buy. Very difficult to say. They're very affordable, too cheap for what the Model 12 is. But we'll take a look at this one, which is in the thumbnail. And this is a fantastic Model 12 to buy, invest in, and shoot. It's the 3-inch Magnum model. And as everybody knows, the Model 12 came out in 1912, lasted to about 1964. And it's a takedown model. It's easy to take down. It's just a pin that you push and then you rotate the magazine to. But I don't want to do that because then I have to put it back together. Model 12 is known to be a very slick action, so I shot this one a lot. What can I tell you about it? It's excellent, except it prefers the 3-inch Magnum shell, and on all Model 12s you really have to rack the action. There's something about force and speed, that's about right. And if you do that, jamming's not common at all. I had some failure to ejects on this 3-inch Magnum just because I wasn't hitting it back like that, which sounds extreme, but that's what it takes. As I said, if I had the 870 and others, you know, it's possible that they're slicker feeling and sounding, but not really, and it's an individual thing. Model 12 all walnut and steel. I don't think there are any compromises in this design, and you know, they stopped making them because they just became too expensive to make. And they have the typical Winchester scallops. You'll notice with Winchesters they tried to get all their firearms to have some common features, or at least some lines that the consumer could recognize. So you'll notice that they milled out this flat here, which gives it some profile, and you'll see it in the Model 94 as well, which I took out the milled out flat. It's not on all of them, but when you see a Winchester, at least to me, that comes to mind. This is just a common modern Model 94, but I had it around. So yeah, so we tried the Model 12 3-inch Magnum. I wish I had some footage, but it's actually very boring because you don't have targets. You have some clay pigeons, and then checking patterning and things like that. Then Winchester came out with this shotgun. So just reviewing the dates, Model 12, 1912 to about 64. And in the later stages of production, they were getting very pricey, and they were kind of a custom shop item. Anyway, then the 25 came out. I think this was around 1949 to 54. I looked it up before filming, but you'll know better than I do. And this was meant to be a less expensive Model 12, so you could probably see the similarity. It has the same lifter mechanism. Everything's the same except it's not a takedown. It doesn't have the push button feature here. I think it is a take apart. I think you can take it apart, meaning remove the barrel. But don't quote me on that. I just don't take these things apart, so I'm not familiar. I'm just bringing the lifter to your attention because all of these things that move on any firearm take mechanical force. This one's a 2 3/4 inch. I like the Model 25 and actually shot this shotgun better than the Model 12. And I found that I could more frequently fire 3 shots without a bobble. A lot of times I'll get away with 2, and then the third one for some reason I'm slow with. But on the Model 25, very slick. And again, it's an all steel walnut shotgun, far too cheap on the used market. But I think all these things will change as people become aware that they exist. There was a bit of a gap, kind of a I don't know what to call it, internet shock, if you like, where people were looking and doing other things. But as I always write to you, value is value, and the 25 is excellent. And then, I don't know which one to take. I guess I'll take this one. J.C. Higgins Model 20. Some people say it's the same as the high standard Model 200. And I looked at some patent drawings from the mid to late 40s. You can investigate all of this for yourselves. It's quite interesting. And the designer wanted to include the best features of the Model 12 and the Remington Model 31. These are embarrassingly inexpensive, and actually I bought this from a really fine fellow. His name's John, and he said it was in kind of collector condition. And when I went to pick it up, I was just quite surprised. Most of the time people hunted with these J.C. Higgins and high standards, and this one, I don't even know if it went hunting at all. There's just some minor storage marks on it. But you can see there's no lifter on this shotgun. The lifter is comes into play at the very end of the cycle. You can see it. You can see it moving there because it's activated actually at the back, at the last by the bolt movement. It's hard for me to convey on film what I can see, and it's too bad I don't have a milled away model. But this is a very slick shotgun, and all steel and walnut. And I have another one here. So this one you can see is just a 2 3/4 inch regular shotgun. It's kind of a stylized bead, quite nice. The barrel is fixed. Evidently you can't take the barrel off. Easy to get away 3 shots, no problem. Not even for me. And I think it has something to do with that lifter. It's just so, well, the whole action is so slick. It's remarkable. And they had this system that was a factory offering called the Power Pack, so I had to wait a while to find one to show you. It's a very cool, if dramatic looking device. These tubes come out the end. This one is marked open choke or something like that. No, it's marked close range. That's what it is. And you have long range. So it's a variable choke device. What's neat is that the wads and shot actually pass through this opening. They leave the muzzle here and then enter the choke tube. And when I bought the shotgun, the fellow said you have to be careful because the wads open when the shot column leaves the muzzle and hits this choke tube, and then there are shreds of paper or plastic or what have you. And when I heard that, I thought, well, that sounds alarming. Nevertheless, after all my testing, all my efforts, all the different shells, this one's 2 3/4 inch. So I shot everything out of it. I couldn't find any shreds of anything. I don't think it opens up enough. The shot column, everything is so tight in this first 1/2 inch, but you probably have had different experiences, maybe different shells. But as hard as I tried, I couldn't get any material that was in the shot shell to leave this area. Everything worked the way it should, and I changed those choke tubes, and the patterns weren't entirely consistent with the choke tube. I didn't notice much difference, for example, between the mid-range and the short range, but it's all so variable because of steel shot, and our shot shells are a lot better now than when this shotgun was made. In any event, this is also the Model 20 with that power pack. And would I take it off? Some people were saying take it off. I think it's excellent. I don't know why I would take it off. I would leave this short range tube on, and with steel shot, it's just a superb action, very slick. So after shooting the Model 12 heavy duck gun, the Model 25, I just set it down. It's hard to see and film all these things, but you can see the receiver is very similar. In fact, what I should do is I'll move these two together, and you'll see they're quite similar, the Model 25 and the JC Higgins, but not internally. Incidentally, people tell me that the JC Higgins was the basis for the Mossberg 500, and if you look at the closed action, and I invite you to do that, have a look at this and then somehow keep it on your screen and then pull up an image of the Mossberg 500, which I just haven't had in the studio for a long time, or else I would have compared those. Of course, the Mossberg has an aluminum receiver, but fantastic shotgun, grossly undervalued, especially for you waterfowl shooters. These are not lightweight shotguns. These are strong, almost I would say brutal shotguns, but completely reliable. You could see the force needed right there. And my winner was the JC Higgins, which surprised me. I thought the Model 12 would easily be the best, but it's not as slick as the JC Higgins, and the cycling is quicker than the Model 25. Actually, everything about that high standard JC Higgins Sears / Flight King is superior, just great. And another shotgun I took out with it, which we'll look at another time, but I had to show you today just because it's so interesting, is a Manufrance pump action. When it was offered to me, I thought, actually from a distance, I thought it was maybe a 870 of some kind. But then I realized, some things didn't fit. So you can see it's a push button release on the action. Very, very smooth. There's something about aluminum against steel that's different. And I know I keep saying they're all slick, but this doesn't change my opinion that JC Higgins is something else. But the Manufrance is very interesting. And I think we might have posted this on Instagram, and some people wrote in already and they said Marlin rebranded this for a period of time. And I looked at pictures of the Marlin, and it does look the same as the Manufrance, which is made in France. All these others are, of course, made in the United States. Anyhow, usually you all know the dates better than I do, and when things started and when they stopped. But I try to provide an overall impression just based on testing that I'm able to do when I have all the different models at my disposal. So yeah, that JC Higgins, fantastic shotgun, and I wouldn't hesitate to recommend them to anybody. Just superb in every way. Okay, well, we have a few more videos to shoot over the next couple of days, and I hope you're all feeling well, and those of you that weren't are getting better. And it looks like things are improving, as I think most of us felt they would. And yeah, we'll have a video for you on that gun control and a few other interesting things. And between now and then, take care and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.